I am using a throwaway for obvious reasons, and I am going to be vague about some details because I still like my pension, and I still live within driving distance of this place. You can guess the park if you want. It's in the American Southwest, within a few hours of the Four Corners. Red Rock Canyons, high desert, juniper, and pinyon. A river that looks lazy from above, but will drag you under in seconds if you're dumb enough to fall in. I worked as a park ranger there for a little over 10 years. Law enforcement, SAR certified, wildfire qualified, all the letters. If you've ever been to a national park and seen some poor bastard in a green uniform explaining that no, you cannot pet the bison and no, you can't fly your drone in a nesting area, that was me. I saw a lot of weird stuff out there. People do stupid things in big empty places. They also see patterns in shadows and call them cryptids. You get used to campers swearing they saw a Skinwalker because a coyote crossed the road and did and immediately bolt at their headlights. So, let me start by saying this. I didn't use that word lightly when I was on the job. I don't use it lightly now. I grew up a couple hours east on tribal land. I know the stories. Where I'm from, you don't say that word for fun. You don't put it in a hashtag. I am breaking that rule now because I don't know what else to call what I ran into. And because there's a twist that still makes me feel sick when I think about it. Every park has its unofficial rules, the stuff they don't print on a sign, but the old guys tell you over coffee. My first week, the chief ranger at the time, a guy named Harris, walked me around the visitor center at dawn. Nobody else was there yet. He looked like a retired linebacker who'd been shrink-wrapped into the uniform. He pointed out the basics, where they keep the radios, the S-gear, the truck keys, the AEDIS, where not to park because the superintendent liked her space, even though none of them had assigned spots. Then he pointed at the radio room. Never ever answer a call you can't ID, he said. I don't care how much it sounds like someone you know. If dispatch doesn't have it, you don't have it. I thought he meant prank calls. Yeah, of course, I said. He nodded, then added, and don't whistle after dark. He said it so flat that I laughed, thinking he was joking. He didn't laugh back. I'm serious. Yazzie. Yazzie isn't my real last name, but it's close enough. Call me Nate. You don't whistle, he said. You don't answer if something whistles back. You don't follow lights off the trail. And you don't say anything's name 3 times on the radio. You got it. I made some joke about Beetlejuice. He just looked at me until I shut up. You see something that doesn't make sense, he said. You call it a safety concern and you back out. Write it up in the log, but you don't speculate. That's how you grow old in this job. At the time, I chalked it up to ranger superstition. Every station has its stories. At my buddy's park, they tell rookies never to sit in a particular camp chair because that's the one lightning likes. It gets under your skin. You start watching the sky when you sit down, even if you know it's bull crap. But there was something about the way Harris said it that stuck with me. Like he was repeating something that had already saved his life. I didn't understand how literal he meant all of it until about 3 years later. The first weird thing wasn't obviously supernatural. It was just off. It was late September, shoulder season. Most of the tourists were gone. The RVs had thinned out. That was my favorite time. Cool nights, warm days, golden aspens up high, and you could drive for an hour along the rim road and not see a single car. I was working the late shift, which mostly meant doing a couple campground loops, checking on the backcountry parking lots, and then sitting at the fire lookout on the east side of the park with a thermos of coffee, watching for smoke and the occasional idiot with a lantern where there shouldn't be a lantern. The lookout was an old tower on top of a sandstone fin. It had windows on all sides and a narrow metal catwalk around the outside. At night, if you turned off your interior lights, you could see the whole canyon laid out under the stars like a black ocean. No fences, just a waist-high railing and a drop that would take you a solid few seconds to finish. I loved it out there. No generators, no visitors, just the wind and the radio static and the little blips of aircraft lights moving across the sky. Around 11:30 that night, I was alone in the tower. I just logged a check-in with dispatch, confirmed that the last campground loop was clear, and settled in to write up some notes from earlier in the week. The heater was ticking softly. The radio hissed in that low, constant way. I had the lights dimmed so I could see out. Then I heard my own voice. "Nate to tower. You copy?" My hand went to the radio automatically. "Tower here. Go ahead." Silence. I frowned, leaning closer. There was only one channel we used for internal comms in that sector, and I knew for a fact there wasn't another ranger named Nate on that night. I was alone on the board. Repeat last. I said, "You're cutting out." Nothing. I checked the display. Channel 1. Just like it should be. I picked up the mic again. "Dispatch. This is Tower. Did you just try to hail me?" Dispatch came back immediately. "Negative. Tower. Last transmission from us was your check-in at 2304. You okay up there?" "Yeah," I said slowly. "Yeah, I'm good. Just thought I heard something." Harris's never answer a call you can't ID floated up in the back of my head. I got up and did a slow walk around the glass, scanning the land. I told myself it had been an echo or a weird radio skipped from another frequency. That happens in the desert sometimes. Signals bounce off atmospheric layers and you hear truckers 3 states away. The canyon was a black bowl under the stars. No lanterns, no headlamps, just a faint distant glow from the tiny town outside the park boundary. I told myself I was being jumpy and sat back down. 10 minutes later it came again. "Nate." Same tone, same cadence, same little roughness on the T sound. It was my voice. I know what I sound like on the radio. You get used to hearing your own nasal whine after enough years. This time it came in crystal clear, no static. I didn't answer. I just sat there with my hand hovering over the mic, listening to my own breath. The ticking heater, the hum of the fluorescent light. "Nate, come on," the voice said. "Step out on the catwalk a sec." The words were wrong. That was the first thing that cut through the fear. No ranger would say that over the radio. We all knew better. You might tell someone to check a sightline or to confirm a wind direction, but you would never tell someone to step out onto a narrow catwalk above a canyon at night over open comms with no context. My scalp prickled. I swallowed and set the mic carefully back in its cradle. Then I reached over and hit the switch that killed the interior lights. The tower went dark. Only the dim glow from the radio and my laptop screen kept it from being total. The windows became black mirrors. I could see my reflection, faint and floating over the night. I waited, heart throbbing, ears straining. Something moved past the glass, not a person walking by on the catwalk. The silhouette was wrong, too tall in the torso like it was stretched. It glided past the first window, then the second, then the third. Each time, and just outside the reflection of my own face, the radio crackled. "Nate," my voice said again, this time with a grin I could hear. "Open the door." The doorknob behind me rattled once softly, like someone testing it with their fingertips. I didn't move. I don't know how long I sat there, eyes locked on the window where I'd last seen the shape. Every muscle rigid. It felt like 20 minutes. It was probably 3. Eventually, the radio hiss flattened out. The heater clicked off. The tower settled back into its normal night noises when I finally forced myself to stand and check the door. The handle was steady and cold, and the deadbolt was still thrown. I logged a possible interference on channel 1 and did not mention hearing my own voice. I did not mention the shadow on the glass. The next morning in the office, I casually asked if we ever had problems with people messing with our radio frequencies. Harris looked at me for a long moment. "Did you answer it?" he asked. My mouth went dry. "No." "Good," he said, and went back to filling out his forms. That should have been my clue to transfer to some boring little historic park with a gift shop and a ferry ride. Instead, I stayed, which is how I ended up in that canyon, listening to my partner scream in a voice that wasn't hers, while something outside slid its fingers under the door. The main incident happened in late October, 2 years after the tower thing. The park was at half capacity, days were weirdly warm. Nights dropped below freezing, the kind of shoulder season where people underestimate how fast the weather can turn. Echo Basin in its real name, but it's accurate enough. It's a side canyon off the main corridor, a long sinuous cut in the plateau, narrow in places with sheer walls and a little seasonal creek that only runs after storms. There's one official trail that follows the rim, but the basin itself is closed to visitors most of the year. Too easy to get cliffed out, too easy for flash floods to trap you. We still get people dropping in from unofficial pullouts because people are people and closed area signs are apparently read as dares. There was a storm system parked way out west that week just offshore. The forecast said it might swing inland earlier than expected. If it did, Echo Basin was one of the first places we'd have to keep an eye on. I was in the office that morning trying to choke down stale coffee when dispatch called for a briefing. Got a welfare check. Our dispatcher, Kayla, said local sheriff's department got a call from a grandma in Flagstaff. Her son and grandson were supposed to check in after a camping trip. They never did. Inside the park, Harris asked. Kayla nodded and tapped a printed reservation sheet. They've got a backcountry permit for Echo Basin Overlook, tonight's. They were supposed to hike the rim and car camp at the overlook, not drop into the basin. But she shrugged. You know, a name was scribbled on the paper. Philip and Tyler Marsh, ages 41 and 14. We pulled their truck information from the plate number and found it within 20 minutes, parked at an unmarked sandy pullout about a mile down from the official overlook trailhead. There was a no parking, no entry sign partially knocked over in the weeds. God damn it, Harris muttered. All right, Yazzie, you and Jess are up. Take Sarge. Check the basin. I'll get County SAR on standby in case we need more boots. Jess was our newest ranger, mid-20s, former EMT, sharp as hell. She'd been with us 6 months. She was still in that phase where she kept her uniform painfully neat all the time. Her hat had a crease you could cut paper with. She met me at the truck with a grin that faded when she saw my expression. Bad? She asked. Could just be a dead battery, I said. Could also be 2 bodies at the bottom of a pour-off. Bring extra water. The drive out to Echo Basin took about 40 minutes on a washboard road. Red dust plumed behind us, hanging in the cold morning air. The sky was that hazy high blue. That means a change in weather is coming. Jess drove. I went through the usual SIR briefing, half for her and half to settle myself. We start at their vehicle and we work out, I said. We mark sign as we find it. We don't overcommit to one theory. Dad might have gone for help. Kid might be injured. Maybe they got turned around on the rim trail and camped by the road. We watch the weather and we do and put ourselves in the flood zone if that storm jumps the forecast. Jess nodded, tapping the steering wheel with 2 fingers in time with her thoughts. Got it. I didn't mention the other thing I was watching for. The thing no one wrote into the official STAR handbook. Weird, quiet, strange tracks, voices where they shouldn't be. We found sign almost immediately, about 200 YD from the truck behind some scrub. There was a trampled patch of dust where someone had clearly hopped the knee-high fence and started down an unofficial social trail toward the canyon rim. Here we go, Jess said, crouching to look. 2 sets of prints, one big, one smaller, both wearing trail runners. Looks like. She snapped a few photos and we started following. The social trail snaked through low juniper and sagebrush, then hit bare rock. The footprints faded into faint scuffs, and the occasional white scratch where rubber had slid over sandstone. After about half a mile, the lane broke open. Echo Basin yawned in front of us. A long curving gash maybe 400 feet deep. Sheer walls layered in red and orange. The bottom was shadowed and cool, dotted with cottonwoods just starting to go gold. A faint ribbon of sand and rock snaked along the floor, hinting at a channel where water sometimes ran. The official overlook was another mile north along the rim. Here there was just empty space and a few old sun-faded footprints leading toward a narrow chute where, if you were stupid and stubborn enough, you could scramble down into the basin. Jess followed my gaze and swore under her breath. "No way they tried that with a 14-year-old, she said. I pointed with my chin. Those prints say otherwise. Sure enough, the scuffs and small dislodged pebbles on the lip of the chute matched the sign we'd seen. One adult, one teenager, both going down. Maybe they turned back, Jess said. Maybe, I said, but the sand at the bottom of the chute told a different story. Two clear sets of landing prints, one deeper than the other, both pointing into the canyon. We dropped in and started the slow, careful hike down the basin floor. It was pretty down there, cooler, sheltered from the wind. The walls rose on both sides like cathedral pillars. Our radios crackled occasionally as terrain cut in and out, but we had line of sight to the rim in enough places that I wasn't worried. At first, we followed the marshes sign down the basin. They'd stopped a couple times, little clusters of footprints and scattered wrappers, a broken twig where someone had sat on a fallen log. Nothing screamed emergency. If anything, it looked like a father-son adventure. The kid's stride lengthened in a few spots, like he'd run ahead and turned back. At one point, there was a set of prints that were so close together they might have been standing shoulder to shoulder, looking up at something on the wall. A petroglyph panel. Maybe. This canyon had a few trails still good, Jess said after about an hour. No dragging, no offset, they were walking normal. Yeah, I said, but they shouldn't have been down here at all. Around noon, the walls narrowed. The basin pinched into a slot barely 10 feet wide, with smooth sandstone sides that rose straight up. The sky became a strip of white glare overhead. The air turned cool and still. A warning bell went off in my head. If a storm hit upstream, this was the kind of place that would fill with water like a bathtub. I checked the sky, still blue, no clouds building yet. I checked my watch, then keyed the radio. Dispatch, Echo Team 1. I said, we're entering a narrow section. No immediate flood signs. We'll keep checking the sky. Kayla came back with a tiny bit of static. Copy, Echo. Be advised, updated forecast says the front's moving faster than expected. NWS now has a flood watch for your area starting 1600 hours. I looked at Jess. That gives us 4 hours before we have to be on high ground, I said. She nodded. Jaw tightening, we moved on. The slot was eerie in a way I can't perfectly explain. It wasn't just the echo of our footsteps or the way our breathing sounded too loud. It was the quality of the silence under that. Have you ever been somewhere so quiet your ears ring? It was like that, except every few steps, that ringing would dip just for a second, like the sound had gone somewhere else and come back. It made the hair on my arms stand up. We found the first weird sign about 20 minutes in. A dead raven hanging from a crevice about 7 feet up the wall. Its wings spread just enough to show the broken bones. Someone had tied its legs together with red paracord and wedged it into the crack so it faced the path. Its eyes were gone, not pecked out. Gone, just neat. Empty sockets. Jess stopped dead. What the hell? She whispered. I swallowed. Could be some dumbass doing. I don't know. Art or some LAR ritual. Take a photo. Don't touch it. She hesitated. Could the dad have done that? Why would he? I said. We stepped around it, hugging the opposite wall. 10 minutes later, we found the first of the marsh's gear. A cheap poly sleeping bag snagged in a low branch. A little farther down, we found a crushed aluminum cup in a grocery bag tangled in a bush. No tent, no heavy packs. Maybe they stashed their gear and went light farther in, Jess said. Maybe the dad wanted to show the kids something and figured they'd come back for their stuff. Maybe, I said again, because I didn't like the other option, that they dumped weight because they were in a hurry or because someone else was setting the scene. We called their names periodically, pausing to listen. Philip, Tyler, Park Service. Call back if you can hear us. Our voices bounced off the walls and came back wrong. The echoes bending in ways that made it hard to tell what direction any answer might come from. We never heard one. Not then. We hit a wide spot in the canyon around 1330. The walls opened up slightly. A few cottonwoods clung to pockets of soil, their roots spidering down toward the dry creek bed. It felt like a little amphitheater. You could imagine someone choosing it as a campsite, and someone had. There was a blackened fire ring built up against one wall. Not our standard park ring, a rough circle of rocks clearly built by hand. In the ash, there were half-burnt scraps of cardboard and something that looked disturbingly like cloth. Imprinted around it, overlapping a dozen ways, were footprints, lots of them. Jess and I both went silent, automatically shifting into that careful forensic mode. "Okay," she murmured. "I've got at least 3 distinct tread patterns. To human, 1. She squinted at a print near the fire. "What the hell?" I stepped closer. The third pattern looked like a bare wide foot. 5 toes, no arch, but the proportions were wrong. The heel was too narrow, the toes too long and too even in length. The whole thing was off, like someone had tried to carve a fake human footprint, but didn't really understand human anatomy. And it was deep. Whoever left it was heavy. The smell hit us then, rot definitely, but not like normal dead thing rot. There was a metallic tang under it, coppery like blood, but also almost like ozone after lightning. It made the back of my throat prickle and my eyes water. I turned slowly, scanning the walls, the boulders, the path we just walked. "Anything?" Jess asked, voice slow. "No," I said, though every nerve in my body was shouting that there was something and it was watching us. The footprints near the fire ring overlapped too much to be cleaned. But I could tell one thing: the marshes had been here. The trail runners were there ghosting through the mess. They led in around and then back out again. So they made it this far. Jess said, "Question is, did they leave on their own feet?" She followed the outbound tracks, moving slowly, lips moving as she counted and categorized. I stepped closer to the fire ring. There was something half buried in the ash. I pulled on a glove and gently teased it free. A partially burned Polaroid photo. The edges were curled and blackened. The middle was smeared with soot. But I could still make out the figures. A man with his arm around a boy, both squinting at the camera, standing in front of a familiar visitor's center sign. Philip and Tyler. Someone had written along the bottom in careful blue ink. "Got positive ID." I called softly. "This is their site." Jess came back to check, her jaw clenched when she saw the picture. So, they came down here, built an illegal campfire in a restricted canyon, and then something spooked them enough to ditch most of their gear and leave in a hurry, she said. "Or something else came," I said. We both looked involuntarily at the long, strange footprints near the fire. That's when the voice came. "Mom." It was faint somewhere down canyon. A kid's voice cracked with fear. Jess's head snapped up. "Tyler, hold up," I said automatically. "We don't run to voice contact. We triangulate, and, Mom, it hurts. Closer this time." Echoing weirdly off the walls. Jess's training whirred with her gut for about half a second. Then she yelled, "Ranger Service, Tyler. This is the Park Service. Can you hear me?" For a moment, everything went dead quiet. Then very softly from up canyon, where we just come, "This is the Park Service. Can you hear me?" It was Jess's voice, flattened into slow, playing back exactly what she'd just said. My skin crawled. Jess went rigid. She looked at me, eyes wide. "Echo," she whispered. "No," I said. "Not like that." I keyed the radio with my thumb, my hand shaking just a little. "Dispatch, Echo Team 1, I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "We've got possible voice contact, but it's distorted. Could be a stuck mic somewhere. Can you confirm any other teams transmitting in Echo Basin?" Kayla's reply was instant. "Negative, Echo. You two are the only units in that canyon. Everyone else is staged at the trailhead or in vehicles. You picking up something?" "Copy," I said. "We're going to advance with caution." I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Jess swallowed hard, looking back the way we'd come, then down the basin. "Which way?" she asked. The kid's voice, if it was the kid, had sounded like it came from ahead, but the echo of Jess's words had come from behind. My inner compass suddenly felt like someone had grabbed it and spun the needle. I thought of Harris's rules. Don't answer a voice you can't ID. Don't say names 3 times. Don't follow lights off the trail. I thought about the missing father and son and the grandma who'd called the sheriff. We follow the prince, I said, not the voice. We're search and rescue, not whatever that thing wants us to be. Jess nodded, visibly relieved to have something concrete to do. We focused on the physical sign and started moving again, calling out occasionally in neutral language. "Hey there, Park Service, if you can hear us, make some noise." The answering silence felt almost smug. The basin widened again after another hour, turning into a broader valley with patches of scrub and a few stunted trees. The sky overhead had dimmed to shade. A thin veil of cloud was drifting in from the west. The marsh's footprints grew more erratic. There were spots where they'd stopped, turned in circles, doubled back a few yards, then gone on. At one point, the smaller prints, Tyler's, veered off toward the base of the wall, then rejoined like he'd gone to look at something. "There," Jess said suddenly. Far ahead, tucked into a shallow alcove in the canyon wall, was a dark rectangle. At first, I thought it was just another shadowed recess. Then the edges resolved into straight lines. "A door frame, a roof line, a cabin," Jess said. Down here, my stomach dropped. There aren't supposed to be any permanent structures in Echo Basin. Not now. Not on any of our maps. The last time anything like that existed down there would have been before the park was established. Old ranching or mining claims long since removed, but there it was, a small one-room cabin built of weathered boards, tucked so tight against the wall that from most angles you'd miss it. The marsh's footprints led straight to it. We both slowed. "If this is some kind of a legal long-term camp," Jess started. "Then whoever built it isn't here now," I said quietly. "Look at the door." It was slightly ajar. And there, in the dust in front of it, were a jumble of prints, some fresh, some old. The bare-weird ones overlapped with the trail runner prints, like someone with those distorted feet had stepped exactly where the marshes had stepped, heel into heel, toe into toe, over and over, like they'd been rehearsing it. I felt something cold settle behind my ribs. "We don't go in," I said. Jess blinked at me. "What?" "We have to missing. If they're in there, they're not okay anymore," I said, and hated how sure I sounded. We circled wide instead, keeping the cabin in sight, but not walking directly in front of the door. I scanned for any sign of a back exit, a chimney. Anything. Nothing. Just rough boards and a sagging roof. Up close, I could see that some of the wood was newer. The structure had been patched recently here and there, nails that hadn't rusted yet. "This isn't old," I said. Jess wiped her palms on her pants. "Maybe it's a hunting cabin from before the area was protected. Maybe someone just repaired it for fun. You ever met someone who does that?" I asked. She didn't answer. There was a small, grimy window beside the door. The glass was so dusty it was almost opaque. You could barely make out shapes inside. I stepped up just enough to shield my eyes and peer in. A table, 2 chairs, a small cast iron stove, shelves along the back wall lined with jars, and something that might have been books or boxes. The light didn't reach far enough to see details, but I saw something else in the glass. My reflection. At least I thought it was my reflection. Then it smiled wide and wrong while my own face stayed frozen. I flinched back so hard I almost tripped. "What?" Jess grabbed my arm, steadying me. "Nothing." I lied. "Just a spider." From inside the cabin, very softly, something knocked. 3 slow, hollow thuds, like knuckles on wood. We both stared at the door. "Hear that?" Jess whispered. "Yeah," I said. Then in the same boy's voice we'd heard earlier, muffled but clear from inside. "Mom, it hurts." Every instinct I had screamed to run, to get back to the rim and away from this place before the sky turned. But there's a line in this job that's hard to explain to people who haven't been on it. You can't knowingly walk away if there's even a chance someone inside needs help. I took a breath that felt like inhaling ice. Okay, I said slowly. New plan, we hold position here. We don't cross the threshold, we get more people, more gear. We don't turn this into 2 more bodies. Jess nodded, but I saw the conflict in her eyes. She was still new enough to think we were supposed to be heroes. I keyed the radio. Dispatch, Echo 1. We've located a structure in the basin. On any map. Signs of recent use and possible voice contact from inside. We're not entering at this time. Requesting additional units and guidance. Static. I tried again. Dispatch, this is Echo 1. Do you copy? More static, a faint hiss, rising and falling like breathing. Damn terrain, Jess muttered. I walked in a slow circle, watching the signal bars on the radio's tiny display rise and fall. There were spots where we usually got at least a scratchy connection here. Nothing. Let's get some elevation, I said. See if we can find a pocket with signal. We climbed a little rise of broken rock about 20 yards from the cabin. The whole time I could feel the door at my back like a staring eye. At the top, the radio finally crackled. Cho 1. This is DC again. You're a structure in. Kayla's voice broke in and out like a bad phone call. Dispatch, Echo 1. I said, we've found an unmarked cabin in the basin and have possible contact. We're holding outside and request backup. There was a long pause. Then, surprising me, another voice cut in. Deeper male, Echo 1. This is command, it said. Advise you, retreat to high ground immediately, leave the basin. Do not approach any structures. I frowned. We didn't have a command channel like that. Not labeled anyway. Identify, please, I said. Who is this? A beat. Then the voice came again. Sharper? Yazzie, get out of the basin, that's an order. The thing is, it sounded like me, not exactly like before, on the tower. It was my voice set 1 notch too low, like someone dragging their finger on a record to slow it down. The cadence was mine. The little hitch I get when I say my own last name was perfect. Jess heard it, too. She went white. But that was you, she said. I stared at the radio, my hand numb around it. Dispatch, I said slowly, forcing my thumb to press the button again. Can you confirm who just transmitted on this frequency? I didn't catch a call sign. Silence. Then Kayla, clear as day. Yazzie, nobody else is transmitting. It's just me on the board. You okay down there? Weather's moving in faster than expected. You need to start back. The hair on the back of my neck bristled. Copy. Dispatch, I said hoarsely. We're assessing. In the distance, a faint rumble of thunder rolled across the sky. We both looked up. The clouds had thickened while we'd been focused on the cabin. A dark line was building on the horizon, crawling toward us faster than any forecast said it should. We got to move, Jess said. If we get trapped in here. The cabin door creaked open behind us. We both spun. The door had swung inward a few inches. The interior was a slice of darkness. The smell that rolled out was thick and wrong and familiar. The same rot and ozone stench from the fire ring, but stronger. It pushed against us like a warm hand. Something moved just inside the threshold. Too low to be a standing adult, too big to be a kid. Then a small pale hand reached out. A boy's hand, thin wrist, not fingernails. It gripped the edge of the door and slowly pulled it wider. Mom, the boy's voice said again more clearly. It really hurts, please. Jess took an involuntary step forward. I grabbed her arm. Stop, I hissed, her eyes filled with tears. We can't just look at his arm, I said. The hand on the door was all wrung up close. The skin was loose, like it fit over something else, and the elbow was bent at a slightly backwards angle, just enough that your brain didn't want to see it. The fingernails were too dark, not dirty, stained with what I didn't want to guess. Whatever was attached to that hand was using the shape of a boy's arm like a puppet sleeve. "Mom," it said again, more insistent. "Please come get me." It wasn't calling for us, it was calling through us. Jess's jaw clenched. She took a shaky breath and forced herself to step back away from the door. That was when the sky broke. The first raindrops were fat and cold. They splattered on the rock and darkened it in little stars. I looked up and saw the storm rolling in like a gray wall, blotting out the canyon's rim. "We are not going to make it to the top before that hits," Jess said. She was right. There was no way we could scramble all the way out of the basin and up the social trail before the runoff started. Not with our gear, not without slipping and breaking something. "High ground," I said. "Scanning the walls, we need to find a shelf or ledge above the main channel." We looked around, the cabin looming in the corner of my vision like a tumor. On the opposite side of the canyon, about 20 feet up, there was a sloping ledge that might give us enough height to ride out a mild flood, assuming the storm didn't dump everything on us at once. "We can get up there," Jess said, already moving. We hustled to the base of the wall, slipping on the first smear of wet sand. The rock was rough and pitted. With hands and feet and a little cursing, we started climbing. Halfway up, the radio on my hip crackled. "Z, you there?" You need to get my own voice cut through Kayla's smooth and clear and close to my ear like someone whispering into the mic. "Wrong way, Nate," it said. "Cabin safer." Every muscle in my body seized. "Don't listen to it," I gasped to Jess. "I'm not," she grunted, hauling herself up onto the ledge. "I'm not even listening to you right now." I scrambled up beside her. The ledge was wider than it had looked from below. We could sit with our backs to the wall and our feet stretched out in front of us. I dropped my pack and turned to look down. The basin floor was already stir with rivulets. Rain hammered the walls, turning all the dust to mud. Far upstream, I could see a darker mass forming, water braided with debris rushing toward us, gaining speed. The cabin door was still open, the boy's arm had withdrawn. The doorway was just darkness now. "You ever see this thing before?" Jess asked suddenly. "What thing?" I said, though I knew. She looked at me like she couldn't believe I was playing dumb. "The voice, the whatever's in that cabin." "You've been here longer than me. Has anybody mentioned this?" 1,000 memories flickered through my head. Harris's rules, the voice in the tower. A couple of half-finished stories from older rangers who drank too much at retirement parties. Tales that trailed off into silence and tight-lipped nods. "I've heard things," I said carefully. "You don't make it 10 years out here without hearing things. You think it's, you know." She hesitated, clearly not wanting to say the word. "Skinwalker," I said for her. She flinched. "Look, I don't know," I said. "That's a cultural thing. Where I'm from, we don't talk about it. But whatever it is, it wants us down there. In that cabin, it wants us close. That's enough for me." Thunder crashed overhead. Close enough that the air shook. The floodwater hit our section of the basin about 30 seconds later. It wasn't a Hollywood wall of water. It was worse, a churning, swirling mass of mud and froth and logs and rocks that rose steadily, grinding against the walls as it searched for any weakness. In seconds, the basin floor went from damp sand to a roaring brown river. Debris slammed into the cabin. One log hit the wall with a crack that should have splintered it. The structure shuddered but held. The door banged wide, then slammed shut again under its own weight. Jess and I pressed our backs against the rock and watched, helpless. The water rose to just below our ledge and stayed there, seething. We were safe for the moment, as long as the storm didn't get worse. The radio crackled and hissed. Useless. We ended up stuck there for hours. Have you ever been pinned in one place while something you don't understand circles you? It does something bad to your brain. Time stretches. Every sound becomes meaningful. The roar of the water, the cracks of thunder, the occasional clatter of rocks tumbling downstream. At some point, the light dimmed enough that it might have been late afternoon or early evening. Hard to tell with the clouds. The temperature dropped. We put on our extra layers and huddled into our hoods. And then, somewhere between one thunderclap and the next, the water surfaced smooth, not completely. It was still moving fast, but a kind of unnatural calm settled over it, like something had laid a sheet of glass over the chaos. The smell of rot and ozone intensified, crawling up the walls to wrap around us. "Do you feel that?" Jess whispered. "Yeah," I said. The cabin door opened, not slammed, not shuttered, just opened smooth as if someone had turned the knob and eased it out. From this angle, we could see inside a rectangle of black stretching back farther than the cabin's dimensions should allow. It was like the door had become an opening in the canyon wall itself. Something stepped out. It was wearing Philip Marsh. At least that's what it wanted us to think. The figure that emerged was a man in his early 40s, soaked and pale, his clothes dark with mud. His eyes rolled white for a second, then locked onto us with desperate focus. "Hey," he shouted up over the flood. "Hey, up there." Jess's hand snapped to her radio by reflex, even though it was dead. "Philip," she yelled, adrenaline overriding caution. "This is the Park Service. Are you injured?" "Where's your son?" The thing, wearing Philip's face, looked down at the water, then back up at us. "Tyler's inside," it shouted, voice cracking in exactly the way you'd expect from someone terrified for their kid. "He's hurt. Please, you got to help us." "The water's rising." The water wasn't rising anymore. If anything, it had dropped an inch. I squinted, trying to see details. The rain blurred everything, but something about the way Philip moved was wrong. His shoulders were a little too high, his knees bent just a touch backward when he braced himself against the current. His mouth was open to wide when he yelled, the corners pulled unnaturally back. "Get higher," I yelled instead. "Climb up. The canyon walls have ledges." "I can't," he screamed. "My leg." He staggered and his left leg bent in a way that no joint should bend. Jess sucked in a breath. "Nate," she whispered. "We can't just leave." "That is not him," I said through my teeth. "Look at it." She did. I watched the moment it truly registered, the double-jointed twist, the too wide mouth, the way the eyes didn't quite line up with the emotion in the voice. Her face went slack with horror. "Mom," the boy's voice screamed from inside the cabin so loud now it drowned out the storm. "Mom, please. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts." The not Philip thing jerked like it had been shocked. For a second, its face seemed to sag, the features sliding a little like wet clay. Then it smiled up at us. It smiled exactly the way my reflection had in the cabin window earlier. Wide and wrong. "Too many teeth." "Okay," it said in my voice this time. "Perfectly." Jess made a strangled noise and slapped her hands over her ears. The thing in the flood took a step toward the wall, the water parting around it. It didn't look like it was fighting the current at all. It looked like the current was going out of its way not to touch it. It raised one arm and waved casually like we were two friends it had spotted across a parking lot. "What do you want?" I shouted because there was nothing else I could think to do. It cocked its head as if puzzled by the question. Then it said, still in my voice, "Same thing you do, Nate, company," and it started climbing. There are moments when your world shrinks down to a single task. Everything else falls away, right? Then mine was, don't let it reach the ledge. We scrambled back along the shelf, away from the section directly above the cabin. The ledge narrowed, then widened again around a bulge in the wall. The rock was slick under our boots. One bad step and we'd be in the water, and then it wouldn't matter how good we were at swimming. "Keep moving," I said, my voice steady, only because there wasn't another option. We get as high and as far as we can. If it follows, we make it work for every inch. Make it work. Jess gasped. "What?" "We fight it with a rescue hook and a first aid kit." "Got a better idea," I snapped. She shut up, which I regretted immediately. Terror plus silence is a bad combo. Behind us, the thing was climbing. I refused to look until we'd put at least 20 yards between us and the cabin. When I finally risked a glance, it was halfway up the wall. No rope. No visible hand holds. It just flowed upward, limbs lengthening and bending in ways that matched the cracks and pockets in the rock. The Philip face was melting as it climbed, features slackening. The skin around it, its elbows and knees had split, revealing something black and sinny underneath. It didn't seem to mind. In some places, it moved like a spider, walking on what looked disturbingly like fingers. The boy's voice continued to scream from the cabin, words dissolving into raw sound. The smell of rot and ozone was so strong now it made my eyes water. Jess slipped. She caught herself on a little bump of rock, fingers clawing. I grabbed the back of her vest and hauled. "Don't look down," I said. "Too late," she whispered. The ledge around the bulge ended at a shallow recess. Not quite a cave, but deep enough that if we pressed ourselves against the back wall, we'd have rock on 3 sides. It wasn't much, but it was better than an exposed shelf. "In here," I said. "Go." Jess squeezed in first. I followed, my back scraping against the stone. We huddled shoulder to shoulder, facing the opening. The flood roared below, the storm rumbled above. Between them there was a thin, awful space where the sounds of climbing and the wet slap of limbs on rocks slotted in. I pulled out the only thing I had that felt remotely like a weapon. A collapsible metal saw pole meant for probing snowpacks and poking at suspicious objects without using our hands. Extended, it was about 6 feet long. Not much against whatever was hauling itself up toward us, but better than nothing. I wish I could tell you I had a plan. I didn't. All I had was training that said, "Don't die," an instinct that said, "Don't let it touch you." The climbing sound stopped. I held my breath. A hand appeared at the edge of the recess. Not Philip's, not anything's. It was long and narrow, skin stretched to tight over the bones, with knuckles that bulged like nuts in a rope. The nails were thick and dark and curved. It gripped the edge, fingers digging into stone as if it were soft clay. Another hand came up on the other side. Then a face rose slowly between them. It was mine, not like seeing yourself in a mirror. Mirrors flip you. This was front-facing, like a camera image. Every symmetry I've known on my own face was there, just exaggerated. The small scar on my left eyebrow from when I fell off my bike at 8, the mole near my jaw. The way one eyelid droops a fraction lower than the other when I'm tired, except the skin was too tight across the cheekbones and the eyes were too dark, almost all pupil. When it smiled, it showed too many teeth all the same size. "Hey," it said in my voice as it pulled itself level with us. "You finally made it." Jess made a sound like a whimper strangled halfway. I did the only thing I could think to do. I shoved the sore pole straight at its face. The metal hit skin with a sound like smacking wet leather. The thing's head jerked back, but not enough to dislodge it. It laughed. Come on," it said, still in my stupid nasal tone. "Is that any way to treat an old friend?" It pushed forward against the pole, its arms elongated as it did, forearms stretching to keep its hands anchored to the rock outside the recess. Its shoulder slid into view, then its upper torso. The Philip skin was gone now. It was just wrong. Humanoid only in the broadest sense. Too many joints, too much movement under the surface of the skin. Like snakes squirming in a sack. So lonely down there, it crooned. So many voices, no bodies. You know what that's like, right, Nate? Talking to yourself in a glass box all night. That hit a little too close to the tower memory. Don't talk to it. I muttered to Jess through clenched teeth. Don't answer. Don't give it anything. It cocked its head, eyes never leaving mine. You already gave me something, it said. A long time ago, I had no idea what it meant. Before I could ask, it slid one hand free and darted it in toward Jess. She yelped and jerked back. Its fingers brushed her arm, leaving a smear of something dark on her sleeve. She screamed, a raw, instinctive sound, and scrubbed at it like it was acid. Where the smear touched fabric, the material darkened and fizzed like it was being soaked in dirty water. But it didn't burn through, it just sank in. You taste wrong, the thing said, sounding almost disappointed. Not yet. It reached for me. I let go of the sarpole with one hand and grabbed the small metal object hanging on a cord around my neck under my shirt. It was an old thing my grandmother had given me when I got the job, a tiny hand-hammered charm with symbols I wasn't allowed to repeat. I'd worn it more out of habit than belief. In that moment, belief wasn't part of the equation, desperation was. I yanked it out and shoved it into the thing's reaching hand. There was a sound like a frying pan hitting a hot burner. The thing screamed, not in my voice, not in any voice I'd ever heard. The sound was layered, hundreds of voices shrieking at once. Male, female, young, old, human, and not quite human, all stacked on top of each other. Its hand jerked back, smoking around the charm. The skin blackened and cracked, curling away. The smell of burnt meat slammed into us, overpowering the rot. It dropped back, scraping and scrambling. For the first time, it looked less certain, less amused. It clung to the wall opposite our recess, limbs spooled like a spider, body shuddering. The charm swung free on its cord, undamaged. My hand throbbed where our skin had met, little white blisters already forming on my palm. Jess stared at me. "What the hell is that?" she whispered. I swallowed hard. Something my grandma told me never to use unless I had to. The things had twisted around too far until it was looking into the recess at us again. Its eyes were different now, narrower, less playful. "Ah," it said. Its voice had changed, too, deeper, rougher. "You're one of those." It looked me up and down like it was reassessing. "That's why you fit," it mused. I wondered. Lightning forked across the slice of sky. Thunder punched the air. The thing pressed itself flatter against the wall, edging sideways like some grotesque crab, moving back toward the cabin. Its burned hand left black streaks on the rock. As it went, it spoke almost casually. "You can't keep them all," it said. "You know that, right? The ones who come down. Some are mine. That's how this works." It glanced at Jess. "Noise," it said dismissively. "Wrong kind. You though." It pointed one smoking finger at me. "You're already half in," it said. "Doors open. Been open since you were little." And stood on the rim and looked down and wished for something to happen. Remember, I did remember. I didn't want to, but I did. I was 9 the first time I visited that park as a kid, back before I worked there, back before I understood what empty spaces can hold. My parents brought me for a weekend. We stood at a fence overlook where you could see a canyon that looked a lot like Echo Basin, and I'd stared down into the shadows and felt something staring back. I'd wished idly, and with a 9-year-old sincerity, that something weird would happen to me, that I would have a story someday that nobody else had. The thing grinned as if it could taste the memory. "Don't worry," it said. "I'm patient. I'll wait. I always do." Then it slipped down the wall in a handful of boneless motions and vanished into the cabin, door shutting behind it with a soft click. The smell receded. The flood resumed its natural chaotic chop. The thunder moved on. Jess and I sat there, backs pressed to the wall, shaking. We didn't talk for a long time. By the time the storm fully passed and the water dropped back to a manageable level, it was full dark. We had to pick our way along the ledge with headlamps, find a section of wall we could safely downclimb, and then slog through mud and debris to the nearest ramp out of the basin. We didn't go near the cabin. We didn't talk about it. We just moved one foot in front of the other, up the social trail, past the broken no entry sign, back to the truck. We got radio contact again about halfway up. Kayla's voice came through frantic. "Echo 1. Are you guys okay? We lost you for hours. Weather went nuts up there. We've got SAR team staged. We're okay." I lied automatically. "We're out of the basin. No casualties on our side. On your side," she repeated. "What about the marshes?" Jess and I looked at each other. "Inconclusive," I said. "We found signs. Their campsite, but no bodies, no confirmed visual. It wasn't entirely a lie." I didn't know what to call what had worn Philip's face. When we got back to the trailhead, there were 2 county senior trucks, an ambulance, and 3 other ranger vehicles waiting. Harris himself met us with a blanket in each hand. "You do look like hell," he said, trying for a joke and not quite getting there. "Any injuries?" "Just scrapes," I said, "and some mild everything hurts." Jess, to her credit, kept it together. She just nodded, lips pressed tight. They sat us down, checked our vitals, gave us hot drinks, and asked questions. I told them about the flood, the cabin in sanitized terms. Unregistered structure appears to be an old claim shack, might be unstable. The Marsh's gear, the Polaroid, the weird footprints, which I described as possibly animal, possibly someone in bare feet, not sure. I did not mention the voice on the radio. I did not mention the thing that had worn my face. Harris listened without interrupting. When I got to the part about the cabin and said, "We chose not to enter due to safety concerns," his eyes flickered. "Good call," he said quietly. "We'll log it." Count Sr. wanted to send a team down at first light. He shut that down gently, but firmly. "Ground's unstable after a flood like that," he said. "We need to let it settle. We'll do an aerial first, then decide." The next morning, a helicopter flew the length of Echo Basin. They found the cabin, or rather, they found where the cabin should have been. On the flight video, there was just a raw scar in the canyon wall where a chunk of rock had sheared off. Fresh pale stone, debris scattered in the basin floor below. No boards, no roof line, no door. Flood must have undercut it, one of the pilots said. "Took the whole thing down. Lucky you got out when you did," the senior coordinator added. I stared at the footage. The scar was there, sure, but it didn't look right. It was too clean, like someone had cut the rock with a giant ice cream scoop. And in the shadow at the base of it, for just a few frames, there was a darker patch that looked a lot like a doorway, a rectangle of black that the camera's auto exposure failed to see. And couldn't if anyone else noticed. They didn't say. The official report listed the Marshes as missing, presumed dead. The narrative said they likely perished in a flash flood event after illegally entering a closed basin. The unregistered cabin was noted as destroyed in rockfall. Jess and I were commended for prioritizing safety under hazardous conditions. Everything else went in a different log, the old photos and the twist. Every station has a back room where they keep the stuff that doesn't make it into the official files. Weird footprints, photos of unexplainable lights, incident reports that end with subject recovered, details redacted. At ours, it was a metal cabinet in a storage closet behind a bunch of old uniforms. A week after Echo Basin, Harris called me into his office. He closed the door and leaned on the desk, looking 10 years older than he had before the storm. "You did good," he said. "Both of you, you didn't go in." "Was there ever a chance we were going to get those people out?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "Not alive. I thought that was the end of it. That he was just going to offer a gruff pep talk, tell me to take a few days off, then send me back out. Instead, he said, 'Come with me,' and led me down the hall. He pulled the uniforms out of the closet, opened the metal cabinet, and took out a battered cardboard box. 'This is going to sound stupid,' he said, 'but I want you to see something.' He set the box on a table and started laying out photographs. Old ones, black and white shots of rangers in wide-brimmed hats standing in front of trucks from the 40s and 50s. Color, ones from the 70s and 80s, all sun-faded Kodachrome. Group shots at trainings, people posed at overlooks, retirement parties. 'Look,' he said, tapping one. It was a group photo from 1978, according to the little ink note in the corner. 6 rangers standing in front of the old visitors center. 5 white guys, 1 native guy. The native ranger was in the middle, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair. He had a small scar on his left eyebrow. He looked like me. Not oh hey, we're both brown dudes with similar hair. If you'd shown that photo to my mother, she would have assumed it was messing around with an old-timey filter. My predecessor, Harris said. Name was Nathaniel Yazzie, hired in 73, good ranger. Solid, did 10 years. Then we had an incident. He flipped through more photos. There was another shot of the same man standing at the edge of a canyon that looked a lot like Echo Basin. He was smiling, one foot on a rock, hand on his hip. Behind him, the shadows were deep. He went missing during a search, Harris said. Echo Basin, back when it was still kind of a free-for-all. Didn't show up for shift one morning. Found his truck at the same pool out we found the marshes. No sign of him in the basin. No body, no blood, just gone. My mouth felt full of sand. You related? Harris asked, watching my face. No, I said. At least not that I know of. Yuz is a common name where I'm from, but he looks ya, Harris said. I know. He pulled out another photo. This one was more recent. Late 90s, judging by the date stamp and the haircut styles. A group of rangers at a holiday party, all wearing stupid reindeer antlers. In the background, near the doorway, someone had caught part of another figure. Just the side of a face, blurred, half turned toward the camera. It looked like the same man, the same scar on the eyebrow, the same shape of jaw. He hadn't aged a day since 1978. How is that possible? I whispered. It's not, Harris said. Unless the photo's lying or something's wearing a skin it likes. He let that sink in for a moment. We've had incidents, he said, going back a long time, longer than this park's been here. People seeing someone they know where they shouldn't be. Hearing their own voices where nobody is. Structures that show up in the wrong place. Doors where there shouldn't be doors. He tapped the side of the box. Everything that didn't fit went in here, he said, along with the names of the rangers involved. Some transferred. Some took early retirement. A few died in ways that made sense on paper and not at all any other way. He looked at me steadily. You're the third Yazzie we've had on staff, he said. First was in the 40s. Second was Nathaniel. Both disappeared in the back country. You signed on anyway. So I'm going to give you the same choice I wish someone had given them. He pushed the box toward me. You can ignore this, he said. Write it off as spooky stories and coincidences. Keep doing your job. Maybe you make it to retirement. Maybe you don't. Either way, you won't know much more than you do now. He opened a desk drawer and took out a thin, worn notebook. The cover was cracked leather, the pages yellowed. Or, he said, you can read this, and once you do, you don't get to unknow it. You do and get to pretend you read just a guy in a hat telling tourists not to feed the squirrels. You'll see patterns where other people see noise. And that thing down in Echo Basin, it'll see you back. I stared at the notebook. Who wrote it? I asked. He met my eyes. Nathaniel, he said, up until the night he vanished. I took the notebook home that night. I know, bad horror movie decision. But leaving it sitting in the station felt worse somehow, like I'd be turning my back on something that was already staring at me. My hands shook a little as I opened it at my kitchen table. The first entries were mundane daily notes, weather observations, complaints about tourists in cargo shorts. Got called to another bear that turned out to be a raccoon in a dumpster, doodles in the margins. Then around the halfway point, the tone changed. Something wrong in Echo today. One entry read, heard my own voice on the radio, thought it was a glitch. Harris says he's heard it, too, says not to answer. Another hiker said he saw himself standing at the bottom of the canyon waving. He's not the kind of guy to make that up. Lodged it as heat exhaustion, then dreamed of a cabin last night. One room, wood walls, door in the canyon wall, no windows, woke up smelling smoke and something else. Can't describe it. Ozone and meat. As the pages went on, the entries became more fragmented. Echo Basin not right. One said new structures after storms, old ones gone. Footprints that lead to doors that weren't there yesterday. Voices under the flood. Another. Not water. Not rock. It knows my name. Knows things it shouldn't. Thought of grandma's stories. Don't say the word. Don't think the Word, too late. One night, I hit an entry that made my blood run cold. Met myself today. It read. At least that's what it wanted me to think. Saw a guy in uniform across the canyon standing on a ledge. Looked like me. Same scar. He waved. I radioed Harris to see if there was anyone else in the basin. Dispatch said no. When I looked back, he was closer, staring, mouth too big when he smiled. Didn't go down, took the long way out. Heard my own voice on the radio all night after that, saying things I didn't say. The last few entries were almost a libel. Scribbles, symbols, words from a language my grandmother spoke when she was very tired or very scared. The very last one was in English again, shaky but clear. If you're reading this, it picked you. It said it likes patterns, names, faces, jobs. It needs doors, needs someone to open them. It can't always push through on its own, but it can talk. And it's patient, it'll wear you down. Then under that, in smaller letters, it offered me a trade, some of them for the rest of us. If I steer the right ones into the right places, it won't take the kids. I told it to go to hell. It laughed and said, "We're already standing on the stairs." I closed the notebook, heart pounding. I thought about the cabin, the boy's voice, the thing that had worn Philip's face, the way it had chirped. Same thing you do, Nate, company. I thought about all the missing presumed dead entries in our files, the way we subtly discouraged people from certain canyons, the unofficial rules about not answering voices, not whistling, not saying names too many times. And my stomach turned as a thought I didn't want to have snaked up from the back of my mind. We already had a pattern whether we liked it or not. People disappeared in Echo Basin at a rate that was statistically odd. Not enough to draw national attention, but enough that the old-timers sighed and shook their heads whenever a permit came through for that sector. Enough that we had closed area signs that never seemed to stay fully upright. If the thing in the canyon wanted help, it didn't need some explicit dramatic deal. It just needed us to keep doing what we were doing. Steer people away from the really bad spots. Downplay some of the risk to keep the numbers acceptable. Pretend we didn't hear voices calling from the dark. It needed a doorman. Someone who knew which warnings to make louder and which to leave as fine print. Someone like me. I didn't sleep that night. Here's the part where you probably expect me to say I quit immediately. That I marched into Harris's office, threw the notebook on his desk, and turned in my badge. That I moved to a nice flat place in the Midwest, and got a job counting corn. I didn't. Rationalizations are easy when you're exhausted and scared and in love with your job. I told myself I could do more good from the inside, that if I stayed, I could quietly steer people away from Echo Basin without making a scene, that I could watch the incident logs and see if the pattern held, that maybe I could find a way to break it. I stayed another 3 years. During that time, we had 2 more missing presumed dead cases linked to Echo. One was a solo backpacker who ignored permit restrictions and dropped into the basin without telling anyone. We found his tent and his stove and his journal full of enthusiastic notes about finding the real park away from the crowds. We never found him. The other was a small group of climbers who decided to free solo a section of the wall for the Graham. One of them fell according to the survivors and his body didn't bounce. It just vanished before it hit like the shadows swallowed him. That's how they described it anyhow. Each time I pushed for more closures, more signs, more ranger presence near the pullouts. Each time the superintendent pushed back gently, we had to balance access with safety. We couldn't close everything that made us nervous. The budget was tight, we could only do so much. Through it all, the thing in the canyon whispered. Sometimes literally, I'd hear my own voice on the radio late at night, murmuring things in languages I didn't know. I'd be doing a campground patrol and see someone who looked like me pass between the trees, hat brim low, heading toward the trailhead. And when I hurried after him, he'd be gone. Once on a quiet morning at the visitor center, a tourist asked if I had a brother. "You helped us last night," she said, "out by the Echo place." You told us not to camp down there, showed us a better spot. We wanted to say thank you. I hadn't been on duty the night before. I checked the log. No other ranger had been assigned to that sector. The description she gave of the man who warned them, it was me down to the scar on my eyebrow. Did his voice sound a little strange? I asked. She thought about it. Tiny maybe. She said like it was coming through a speaker. I figured it was just the echo. I smiled and nodded and told her she'd done the right thing by listening. Then I went into the back room, dug out the old photos again, and stared at the face that looked like mine in the 1978 group shot. Some nights I dreamed of the cabin. Sometimes it was intact. Sometimes it was a raw wound in the rock. Sometimes the door was open and I could see a long hallway stretching back into total darkness, lined with doors on either side. Behind each door, someone was crying. One time I stood in front of the cabin in the dream, and someone opened the door from inside. It was me. He wore an old-style ranger uniform, the kind with the slightly different patch. His hair was longer. The light made it hard to tell if he was older or younger. Almost time, he said. One way or another, I woke up with the smell of rot and ozone in my nose and mud on my bare feet. My back porch was damp with prints that weren't quite mine. That was the night I finally put in my papers. I didn't tell them why. I just wrote personal reasons and left it at that. Harris didn't look surprised. Most people don't last as long as you did, he said. You did good work. He slid an envelope across the desk. From me, he said. And from some folks who came before. Something for when, if it comes knocking. Inside was a photocopy of Nathaniel S. last journal entry and a smaller notebook filled with handwritten notes in different inks and handwritings. Tips, symbols, words from different languages. Some of them I recognized from my grandmother, others from other tribes' stories. A few that might have been Latin or something older. At the bottom of the last page, in fresh ink that I recognized as Harris's, there was a simple sentence. You don't have to make a deal, it said. That's still a choice. I left a week later. I moved a couple hours away, still in the desert, because apparently I am a masochist. Got a job doing logistics for a conservation nonprofit. A desk, a computer, a calendar, no radios, no towers. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought I'd put enough distance between myself and the canyon that whatever lived under there would get bored and find someone else. I was wrong. About 6 months after I left, I got a DM on social media from a username I didn't recognize. Hey, it said, are you the same Nate who used to be a ranger at Park Name Redacted? I think I met you on a trail a couple years back. Just wanted to say thanks again. You probably saved our lives. LOL. My stomach did that slow, queasy flip. I clicked through to their profile. Lots of outdoor shots, canyons, rivers, a few from my old park. I wrote back cautiously, hey, I did work there for a while. When did we meet? Their response came quick. Summer before last, they said. My partner and I were thinking of going down into a canyon. I think it was called Echo something. There was a cabin down there we'd heard about, like a secret old ranger station or something. You came by our campsite really late and told us it was a bad idea, said the cabin wasn't for people like us. You were so intense about it, we backed off. LOL. I stared at the screen. Did I typed, fingers numb. What did I say exactly? They thought for a minute, then replied. You said if you hear your own voice calling from the dark, don't answer. It's not you. They added a little laughing emoji. Creeped us out so much we went to the lodge bar instead. They wrote, we still talk about Ranger Nate. You had this crazy echo thing going on when you talked, like you were on a PA system, even though you were right there. Anyway, just wanted to say thanks. We're doing a road trip back through there next month. Actually, hope you're doing well. I read that message about 15 times. I have never said those words to anyone in my life, but it sounded exactly like something I would say, and the echo thing. Yeah, I sat there in my little apartment, staring at the chat, listening to the hum of my fridge and the distant sound of traffic, and realized something I'd been refusing to admit. It doesn't need the park to reach people. It doesn't even need the canyon anymore. It has a pattern. It has my voice. It has my face stored in old photos and strangers' memories. And thanks to the internet, it has reach. I don't know if this road trip couple ever made it back to Echo. I've been too afraid to check the recent news in that area to see if there are any new missing, presumed dead articles. Ignorance feels safer, even if that's a lie. So why am I telling you all this? Because last week, for the first time, it contacted me directly and not through a dream or a voice on the radio. It called my cell. I was making dinner. My phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number, local area code. I almost ignored it. Then, for some reason, I picked up. Hello, static, then a faint familiar hiss like a cheap handheld radio. Nate, my own voice said. You there? I froze. Wrong number, I said, and went to hang up. Ah, come on, it chuckled exactly like it had on the ledge. Don't be like that, we go back. I put it on speaker and set it on the counter because my hands were shaking too much to hold it. What do you want? I asked. There was a pause. Then, you know the rules better than most, it said. You've seen the logs. You know the numbers. I can't have everybody. That's not how this works. You've been helpful. Steering the right ones away, steering the wrong ones. Well, let's just say you haven't exactly been loud about the risk. I thought of all the times I downplayed Echo Basin when friends asked about the scariest place in the park. Of the missing hiker whose name I hadn't shared in an online forum because it felt wrong. I never made a deal. I said didn't have to. It said you're part of the pattern. Nate, you opened the door when you wished for something interesting to happen. I just walked through. You don't like it. Close it. How? I demanded. It laughed. The sound warped, picking up odd harmonics. That's the fun part, it said. You figure it out. You've got a head start thanks to the ones who came before. Nathaniel tried. Almost had it too before he slipped. Brave man. Tasty. My vision went red for a second. If you touch anyone I know, I started. Oh, relax, it said, and suddenly its tone shifted. It sounded like Jess. Now you think you're the main character. You're a hallway. Nate, a nice long one with lots of doors. There was a scraping sound like wood on stone very far away. Anyway, it said back to my voice. I just called to say hi and to tell you you're being watched. Not in a creepy way. Well, okay, in a creepy way. That's kind of my thing. Stay away from them, I said. Not even sure which them I meant. My family, the tourists, the new rangers, the strangers on the internet who eat this stuff up like candy. It made a thoughtful little noise. Tell you what, it said you keep talking. Tell your stories. Warn people if that makes you feel better. Some will listen, most won't. But every time someone reads about Echo Basin, thinks about Echo Basin, says its name 3 times, that door opens a little wider. The line crackled. Oh, it added lightly. And next time you're in your bathroom at night, and you look in the mirror, if your reflection smiles when you don't. The call dropped. The kitchen was suddenly too quiet. I turned every light in my apartment on, slept with my back against the wall, facing the door. If you've read this far, congratulations. You've just voluntarily stared into a canyon you didn't know existed. Maybe you're rolling your eyes. Maybe you think I'm a Boar ex-ranger making up a creepy story for karma. I hope you're right. I hope I'm insane or lying or both. Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is that somewhere in the southwest there's a gash in the earth where the rules leak, or something old and hungry and patient wears borrowed faces and waits for voices to answer it, and that it's learning. It started with radios and reflections. Now it has phones, videos, shared photos, threads like this. If you ever go hiking out there and a ranger tells you not to drop into a canyon, don't argue. Don't whine about your bucket list, just listen. If you ever hear your own voice calling you from the dark, your exact tone, your exact favorite phrase, but your lips aren't moving, don't answer. If you ever see someone who looks just a little too much like me, scar on the left eyebrow, park uniform that doesn't quite match the current style, smile that's too wide, standing at the edge of a canyon and waving you over, wave back, then turn around and walk away. And if you're reading this late at night with your headphones in, maybe in a dark room with the door slightly open and you hear something down the hall that sounds like you whispering your own name 3 times, just remember, I never told you the real name of the park, but it knows yours.